Welcome back everybody, my name is Awais and welcome to another video on the channel. Today I'm going to bring you a crash course for Git. What is a Git? So a Git is a free and open source distributed version control system. And what is a version control system and why should you care? Let me read a passage from a website of a Git actually. So it says a version control system that record changes to a file or a set of files that you can recall at the specific version later. So in simple words, what is a version control system? So if you are a developer, for example, you are developing a website. So you write a file called index.html and you write a file called script.js. And then the first function you write in your script.js, let's say it's console.log and says hello world. Now later at some point, maybe after 3 days or 4 days, you want to go back and see, okay, what was the first line I wrote in my code? Is there any way to get all the code back, or is there any way to go back to the specific point of your code? Yes, that is called a version control system, which is a Git. Now, Git is open free and we can use it. Now, Git is one of the most popular version control system as well. So what we're going to learn in this video? In this video, I'm going to show you some of the command lines, commands, and also I'm going to show you how you can use Git with GUI software. So GUI stands for graphical user interface, and the software we're going to be learning is called Sourcetree, which makes it so easy to work with the Git. And also I'm going to be showing you how you can use GitHub and what are the benefits of using GitHub. And the ultimate statement I'm going to give you at this point is every project you create, whether it's a website or a Java game or Java software, any software you create, you should have some sort of version control system. It could be Mercurial, a Git, and there's others version control system as well out there. Now, before we start our video, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. And also, a lot of people have liked my JavaScript tutorial, which is about 3 hours long. A lot of people have questioned a lot of things on that video, so I'm actually going to announce something here as well. Well, that video was about 3 hours long. Now, there's a lot more to JavaScript. We need to have something which will make us a job ready. Now, I'm going to announce my new Udemy course, which I just launched like 2 days ago. I was working on that, and here is it. So first thing to notice in this course is it's about 17 hours long. Can you see that? There's only 17 hours. Not only actually, there's a lot of content in this course. I've basically used the pure JavaScript, no library, but pure JavaScript. Now I'm going to take you to the content of this course. So if you are interested in, you can just click on buy now, which is actually on the sale right now. And also this course is going to be updated very frequently. A lot of projects I'll be making in JavaScript will be available in this course. So that's my main focus. Anything related to JavaScript, it's gonna be in this course. And yeah, no guarantee on the YouTube channel, but this course, once you buy it, gives you lifetime access to this course. And this course is going to get updated. I'm not going to create 1, 2, or 3 versions of different technologies, or just separate out the technologies and make an extra course. This course is going to get updated. Now this course has about 17 hours long, so we have an optional HTML5 training, CSS in there as well. We have a setup, a development in JavaScript for absolute beginners and beyond the basics as well. And then DOM, we have a couple of projects in there as well. For example, we have a project, and I actually drop a link of this course in this video description, so you can click here, and then I have actually explained what are the projects. So we have a typing speed tester game project, we have an analog clock, we have a quiz app, we have a game project in this course, and a lot more on its way. All right, let's get back to Git now. A lot of talking about my course. So I'm going to close this tab. Now, how do we install Git? So you basically go to git-scm.com and you click on download version for Windows. And if you're on a Mac, you should see a Mac version. And if you're on a Linux, then you have a Linux version here, right? So now I've already installed Git. It's basically simply just click on download Git and it's going to start installing. As you can see down there on the Chrome browser, it says, okay, let's keep it or discard it. So I'm going to discard it because I've already installed Git. So you got to install the Git. It's simply a Windows installer. Click on next and next. It will basically install that. All right, so how do we check what version of Git we have? I'm going to go to CMD in the Windows, and here it basically say, all right, we have a node version of terminal here. Well, let me just say git --version. Now it says Git version 2.15.0. So what is the current version going on for the Git? Let's have a look. So it says 2.16.1. So there is the latest version. I had to update it, but for now we will just use whatever we have on my PC. It's going to be the same. Now we've installed Git. There's another software that we want to install called Sourcetree. Now Git is all about a terminal. You write commands on a terminal to deal with the Git. But the Sourcetree has created a free Git GUI for a Mac and a Windows. So basically you click and drag and drop and write graphically. That makes the Git a lot easier compared to you write commands on the terminal. So here we have a Sourcetree. I've already installed Sourcetree. I'm going to pop it up, and once when it starts, then I'm just going to give you an overview. So this is the Sourcetree. I have one project available in that. So we'll look at that, how we can add and we can create a Git repository. So now let's go and jump into one of the editor. Well, I'm going to be using WebStorm. You can use any of the free version. For example, we have a Visual Studio Code, which is another great option, and it's free. So right now we have actually this project here. It's a typing speed test again. Well, I'm just gonna ignore that. Right, I'm just gonna pop up the WebStorm. Now here I'm going to close this project, and also I'm gonna create a new project, and I'm gonna create an empty project, and it says web or git test. And let's just go and create this. And now in this project we don't have any files. So first of all, how do we create a Git repository? Now I'm going to create two files first. So we'll just create index.html file. I'm going to make it bigger, and also I want to create another file which is JavaScript file. I'll say script.js. Right, so here we have two files now, and well, what's happening here? I'm going to basically create this project a Git repository as well. I'm going to implement the Git inside this project as well. How do we do that? Well, I'm using WebStorm, which is pretty advanced IDE. So I have this VCS, version control system, on the top. I can go into that and I'll just say, all right, import into version control. So here I have an option for create a Git repository. I'm not going to use that because not many people will be using WebStorm, so we just skip that option. Now we want to go to terminal. So this has a built-in terminal here. So we are already in the project folder, but let's skip that as well. So we want to go to Windows PowerShell or CMD. Does not matter. You go to CMD, you go to Windows PowerShell. You can use whatever you like, but I'm just going to be here, right? So here I'm going to say, okay, H, and we are in HLS. So all of these folders we have in there. And now I want to go to the folder, programming project. So here say CD, programming project, and then web project. And then I have Git project, Git tab. All right, so right now I'm here. So I have two files, index.html and a script.js file. So here I'm actually going to type a Git command. Let me go back to a Git documentation. So here, well, I'm trying to show you that how you can learn more by yourself, because Git is too big. I can't cover that in a 20 minutes video. So we will go to git-scm website and we'll click on documentation. Now once we click on documentation, it takes us to this page, and here we see what is the Git basics, quick wins with Git, get going with Git. There's a lot more options here. I'm going to click on the first one, which is reference. Okay, so this is the reference. We will just make it a bit bigger. Actually, I'll zoom into the video. Now here we have an option for setup and config option, getting and creating project, basic snapshotting, branching and merging, and sharing and updating. So whatever you need to know, you basically go and click on that. For example, here we see how do we create a Git repository. It says getting and creating project. So I'm going to click on that init. Okay, so it says Git init creates an empty Git repository or reinitialize an existing ones. So here we have some options. We type Git, we type init, and we have some flags here as well. So extra commands. We say, okay, let's create a Git repository, but on the top of that, do this. So these are some commands as well, which you type in with the hyphen, double hyphen, and then the command name. Now we have a description here as well. This is not you want to read. I just want to show you that you can go and study more about Git. But we want to look at the basics of Git, create repository, add a branch, and also commit. What is a committing? What's basically Git, right? Now let's go back to Windows PowerShell. And here I see I don't have a Git repository. So if I say ls, and I can see I have two files, index.html and script. Now I'm going to convert this to a Git repository. So I'll type git init. All right. So it says initialized empty Git repository in programming project, web project, git test.git. Now let me take you to the browser, file explorer actually. So here we will go to right click and I'm going to click on show in explorer. Now here, this is the folder git test. I go inside, I don't see any git.git folder. I don't know if it's a Git repository. So how do we know that? Well, we can click on view and then click on hidden items. And once I click on hidden items, I can see there is a folder called Git. And there's a lot of files in that, which I don't want to go into, but there is something called Git. So we know there is a Git repository for that. All right, so now it says the WebStorm says, okay, add file to Git. I'm going to click on yes. Now, both of these files are added to Git. Let's look at that. Now, I'm going to use this built-in terminal. Well, we are going to eventually jump to the GUI Git, so that will be easier. But let's look at some of the commands, because sometimes GUI can cause trouble, cause an error, cause a bug. But the terminal is always the way to fix the problems, and there is no lies in it. So it's whatever Git offers, it's there and it works. So here I'll say Git status. All right, so I get the Git status and I see no commits yet. Well, I don't have any commit. Changes to be committed. Well, we have changes committed and it says untracked file. So these are the tracked files. So Git is not tracking index.html. Git is not tracking script.js file. Now, there will be a time where you don't want to track some files. For example, if you have this web project in WebStorm creates an extra folder called .idea, which has some project configuration specific for WebStorm. So we don't want to put that into a Git repository. We want to track the source code. So basically what you can do, you can create a file name called git ignore. Now, git ignore is the file which will help us to ignore some files to go into Git repository. So let's create that file. You can create a visually. So if I can go and create a new file, and I will say, okay, .git ignore file, create that, and you can click OK, it will create the file. Now also I can create a new file by typing ni.gitignore on the terminal, and then I have this file gitignore, right? Then I want to add this file to the Git repository first, and I want to go here, and here I see I have nothing. So right now we will go and say, okay, how do I add a file to a Git repository through a terminal? Well, as you guessed, add command. So we say git status first. So let's check the git status, and here we have some files. So I want to say git add.gitignore, and there we go. And the next time when I go and say, okay, git status, and now as you can see, you notice that we have a file called .gitignore highlighted. So that means it's been added to a Git. Now we have added that file that, okay, I told Git, please go and track .gitignore file. Please track that. So now we can see we have added that to a tracking. Now whatever I write, it will be tracked. So next thing, we want to add a folder which we don't want to track and we automatically ignore. So here we will just simply say, okay, .idea, and here I want to say dash, save the file, and here we just say git status. And this time, as you can see, when I do the git status, it actually did not show me those idea files. So if I go here, for example, show in Explorer, I can see that there is an IDE folder which I'm going to ignore because it's specific to my IDE, what I'm using. So we know how to create a git ignore file, how to ignore folders or files. Now, then the next part, I'm going to clear the console, and here I'm going to write a command which basically create a snapshot of our current status of our code. For example, we have written something in the git ignore. We have not written anything on the script, but we want to first add these files to Git. So here we'll just say git add, and I can say index.html and git add script.js, right? I'm going to say git status, and there you go. So there is no file which is basically untracked now. So here, as you can see, notice that we have something called modified. So what is a modified? So we can see there is a file called .gitignore, which Git is telling me that it's been modified. Well, what is this? Now let's go to index.html. I want to change the title of that to something else. So I'll just go here. I'll just say hello, or maybe we can say git test. All right, we have a git test. I'm going to save that file, and I'll go back to the terminal, and let's just clear the terminal. And here now I'm going to type again git status. So git status is a command which tells you the status of Git, about the files, what's happening, what's changed, what's not changed, what is tracked, what is not tracked, what is committed. So let's go and type status, press enter. And now I can see it says, well, we have added these files, changes to completed. So we have a .ignore, we have index.html, we have a script.js, and also it says, well, we have modified 2 files now instead of 1 file. So before, when I look at the status, it was saying git ignore only is modified, and now it says index.html is modified as well. Well, that's true because we wrote a title git text, we modified the file. Now, if I want to capture the state of my code, for example, 3 days later, I write a code and I make a mistake on that, and I don't know how to go back to the code where my code was working, because your website was working before, you wrote something which broke everything, and you want to go back. This is where version control system comes in, and the Git is one of them, which we use and which is the most famous one. Right, so now what we do, I will clear the console here, and I want to commit. The term commit Let's go to the website of that Git. Actually, I want to show you how you can learn more as well. So here, if we go say basic snapshotting, we can see we have this add function. We just seen that. We can see status. We can see a difference. We can have a commit. We have a remove, move, reset, bunch of things. If we go to add, and here we have a huge description to read. But one thing I want to point out here, there is a dot notation. So here it says add the content from all text file by using this git add documentation / / and static. Okay, static works as well. Now you should go and read these, but the software we will be using called Sourcetree, which will basically help you to not to go and read the commands, because all the commands are already here. Because I don't want to go and write commands which will not make any sense, because if you're really keen to learn a terminal based Git, then you can come here and read the documentation and you will be able to read it and understand it. We have some branching and merging which we'll look at in a source tree instead of writing the commands. I could write the commands, but that's going to be hard for the beginners. So now we want to go to commit. Now commit, what is a commit? Let me read this passage here. So it says stores the current content of all indexed in a new commit along with a new message from a user describing the changes. So the content to be added can be specified in several ways by using git add. All right, so by using git rm to remove. To listen the arguments, we use the command here, -- patch and -- interactive, or without these things, right? So these are some things that you can go and read. Now let's take a look at basically the demo of that, right? That's what we're doing here. Alrighty, so now we have some kind of tracked file here. We have a changes to committed. Now I want to say here, let's just say git commit, right? I'm going to press enter. Wow. Now it takes me to this place, right? It says enter the commit message for your changes. Line starting with the hash will be ignored. Okay, well those will be ignored. I'll say initial commit. So I've written a message called initial commit. So that would be kind of a description for this stage of the code. So if I want to come back to it, I will look for, okay, what was my initial commit? So I'll go into the description and look at that. Right, so here we will write, we will press escape, and here we type a colon and we just say W for writing the file and then Q for quitting. Press enter, and there you go. And it says we have a master root commit, initial commit, 4 files change, 14 insertion, create mode, blah blah blah. All right, let's look at the git status now. So git status, and here we can see we have a git add file, so we have some modification to these files as well. Okay, we'll look at that later. Now we've seen how a git works. We can look at the status, how we can commit. Now let's go to GUI git, all right, which will be a lot easier to deal with the terminal, because you can deal with the terminal, but you need to have a little bit of knowledge about terminal, about command. It's a bit advanced, not for the beginners, but if you're totally beginners, we can see we have this Sourcetree software. So I want to snap this here, and also I want to snap this here. All right, now here I'm gonna go and close this repository for now, which is another repository I had. I'm gonna click on this plus button. Once I click on the plus button, I will click on add. Right, I can create a new Git repository by clicking on create. I can clone it, which we will talk about in the server, in the GitHub, which we put our code over there, right? Then we have a local and then the remote. So if your Git is sitting on a server and you have a local copy of it, well, a lot of developers work together on the same kind of repository. So I will just go and write my code and I will commit that to that repository, and other developer can track my code as well and take my code and continue working on the top of that. So that is another way of looking at the Git. But for now, let's go and add a Git repository. So I'll click on add and click on browse, And also we want to go to a programming project, and we want to go to web, and here we have a Git test project. I'm going to click on a select, click on add. Right, so now I just want to make it bigger. Okay, so now we have successfully added the Git. We could actually create a Git repository here, but now let's look at some of the options. So we have a commit option, we have a push option, we have a pull, fetch, a merge, a branch, stash, and there's a lot of options in the Git. But let's look at what's going on here. So here you can click on this index.html and it says, okay, that was the line before title, title, title. Now the new line, it says git test, sorry, title, git test, and test title. So I'm going to go and click on stag all. Once I go stag all, and I want to write, this is where I start my coding. And I click on commit, and that will be committed. Now we have a branch called a master branch. So if I click on a master branch, I will say, okay, well, this is where I start the coding. Now branching is a pretty great. Well, why we use the branches and what are branches? Let me quickly explain to you guys. Now, let's say you are working on a project and there is a new feature which your boss wants you to add into the application. Now, instead of continue working on the same branch, you basically create a new branch from that and then start working on that. So during that time, when you're working on a new feature, if your boss comes in, all right, we release the version of the software, there is a bug in it. Now you are already in the main branch, and if you try to fix that, you're gonna mess up. So what you will do, you will basically go to a master branch or any other branch which you have set for release. You fix the bugs and you commit it there, and that's no issues. And then you will go back to the code where you were working on your new feature. So it's pretty great. And a lot of developers, like 10 or 15 developers, work together on the same project. So they use a version control system where they can have their own branches. So on the own branch, it's got nothing to do with a different branch. So basically what they do, they keep working on their own branch. And then once the code is ready, they will just commit it. Right, so now we have seen that we can commit. I'm going to go back to WebStorm, and here I want to write some code here. So I'm going to minimize the terminal now, and let's just make it smaller. So here we can say h1 hello world, we are learning Git. Make a duplicate of it, save the file, and we go back to Sourcetree, and there we go. Once I save the file, I go to Sourcetree, I have the repositories there, and it says uncommitted changes. Wow. I'm going to click on that and see that, okay, unstacked file. I'm going to click on this file and it says, okay, you have added these lines to your index.html. How cool is that? So it's tracking whatever the changes we're doing. So later at the point, if you want to come back to where I had these lines, then I'll just go, okay, click on commit, and I'll just say, okay, committing multiple headings, right? I'm going to click on stag all files, or you can click on stag selectors if you have multiple file changes. Click on commit, it's committed. We're going to go to master branch, and there you go. I have 2 commits here. Let's go back to WebStorm, and here we just say in a script file, I will just say, okay, alert, I am using Git, right? Save the file. Let's go back and add that file into index.html and drag and drop, save it, go back to the file, and there you go. We can see we have more changes. So I'm going to click on uncommitted changes, and also I can see I have this file change which says alert, I'm using Git, and it says index.html, which I've added this script tag. Wow, it's tracking everything. Now here I can say, click on commit, and I will say, okay, I have attached the script file to index.html file. So later on, I want to go to this point, I can just go back to this point, stag all, click on commit, and there you go. So here we can see we have multiple commits now, and also we will basically go back to the initial commit now. Right now, let's look at our code. So we have this code in our index.html file. I go to alert, so I have this code there. I'll make it bigger. Okay. Now let's say if I double click on initial commit. Wow, it's saying confirm change working copy. I'm gonna click on OK. Now I can see I have another head commit. So I'll go back to my code and say, all right, I don't have any code in there. I don't have any index file there. Wow, what happened to my code? Now don't freak out, the code is still here. So if we go back here, it says uncommitted changes, which will basically cause the initial because we went to the initial point. So I'm going to click on discard these changes, for example. Let's select all of them and just click on discard changes, click OK. Well, it's not going to let you discard now because we have uncommitted changes. Right, double click on that and we'll go back to our code here. So now I'll go back. There you go. Our code comes back. How cool is that? And also we'll look at some of the branches now. For example, I have attached a script file and I want to add some functions in that. So I'll go and click on the branch and I'll say I want to create a new branch. So I'll just say, okay, dev branch. Okay. And I want to specify the commit point where I want to take the code. So I'll click on this and then I'll just select this, double click on that, or select that and click OK. Let's create branch and there you go. We have two branches now. These are the local branches. We have not touched a server side of a Git. So here I will go and add some code to our stuff. I'm going to remove these headings and I'll say H1, I am currently working on dev branch. Save the file. We go back to Sourcetree and here I can see I have uncommitted changes. Wow, what's the change? So here we can see index.html file and it says I've removed these lines of code and the green tells us I have added this line of code. Nice. I'm going to click on commit because I want to have this snapshot. I want to track the same place. So if I want to go back to it, I could go back to it anytime I want. So here I'll just say first commit for dev branch. All right, I'm going to click on stag all files and then click on commit and we go back to dev branch and there we go. So right now, if you look at the repository, it says a dev and a master is down there. Now to show you how the branching looks cooler, I want to go back to the master branch. So I'll double click on the master branch. So here right now we're on the master branch and I'll go back to the code and there you go. Our code comes back and the script come back as well. So here I will delete this and I'll say just H2 just looking at the branches looks cool. Save the file, go back to Git, and here we can see we have a commit, uncommitted change. Click on that, stag all files, and let's go back to commit. Click on that and say just chilling with master branch. Let's do it. Click on commit. All right, once I commit, I go back to dev. Now let's look at how cool is that. So basically when we go back to the master branch, we committed and our changes. Now we can see I have this some kind of arrow going outside from the master branch, which is telling me this is like something else, another part. So we can see we have a different branches now. How cool is that? So we've seen how to create a new branch by clicking on the branch and then we select a specific point and then we create a new branch. We can merge the code, which is a little bit advanced topic. Basically what happens is if I want to merge this dev branch. So as you can see, our master branch is above the dev branch because it says we committed the latest one on the master branch, not a dev. So by date it works and by date and time it works. So here we can see we have committed on a dev before we committed on the master. So we can see now what happened if someone working on a master branch and he will say, all right, I have finished my task. Now we want to have all the code together and then we create our branches and work on those. How do we do that? That's called merging the code. For example, there's a guy who's working on the dev branch, and I'll go to him. All right, mate, you finish your task. I have finished my task. Give me your code. I'll take your code and I'll take my code and merge it together and see if we get any error. So how do we merge to another branch? Well, I am in a master branch right now, and I want to merge the code of a dev branch as well. So let's go back and take a look at the code we have. Right now I have this code here, right? Alert, index, we have this code. We go back, and here I want to go click on merge, and now I want to click on dev branch, and we'll click OK. Well, now the message, it's saying that now you have merged conflicts in your working copy that needs to be resolved before continuing. Now it's saying, mate, you have a conflict. So the dev branch has a similar code on a similar line, and the master branch has a similar code, not a similar code, but different code on a same line, which is conflicting. So which one you want to keep? You want to trust that developer, or you want to trust your code? Well, we click on close, and here we can see the line goes and joined together in a source tree. So as you can see, right now I'm going to click on here, and it says, well, there is some problem. So here we have index.html, which has a problems, and I want to resolve that. So if I right click on that, and I can see there must be external difference. Now, there are some extensions that you can use. So if we click on resolve commit, and it says launch external merge tool, resolve with mine, resolve with theirs. So here you can see, okay, I want to resolve with theirs. So most priority will go to that developer code. And if I've written a code which is conflicted to that code, just ignore that code, remove it, just keep his code. So you can use resolve theirs and resolve using mine. But there are some external tools which you can plug into Sourcetree, which will help you to actually look at what's the difference. So to show you that, I will go to WebStorm, because WebStorm has a built-in conflict resolver. All right, so we'll go to, I'm going to right click here. We're going to go to Git, and I will say resolve conflict. Now this is basically already there. So here we can see we have a conflict in index.html. I'm going to double click on that, and it's going to open a file, and it's going to show me what is a conflict. Okay. Well, this is changes from server, which means the developer branch, some other branch there. The result will be, if you merge, that will be the result. Okay. And right now I have this code on my local changes, which is says hello world, we are learning Git. And it said, just looking at the branch looks cool. Now, if I click on merge and we have a conflict, we want to make sure what code we want to keep. We want to keep this code, or we want to keep my code. So here we have an option for, after looking at the conflict, saying, okay, accept left or accept right. So I will say accept left. My code is the most priority. We go back to Sourcetree, and here we can see that error is gone. I could resolve it right here, but I used the WebStorm built-in conflict resolver to resolve the conflict. You can go and search in the Google saying, okay, find me a conflict resolver on Sourcetree. Yeah, you find a bunch of them. All right, so now we know how we can resolve the conflict, how we merge the code, how we create a branch. What is the meaning of a commit? Commit is just a snapshot, a stage where you want to go back. So here, if I go, this is the where I want to start coding. So already in the master branch, double click on that, and it says checking into create. It's going to detach the head. Well, I'm going to cancel that. We go back to dev branch, and there you go. Once I go to dev branch, we go to WebStorm, and here, there you go. Our code is related to the dev branch now. It's not on a master branch, so we don't have that. We can go back to master branch by double click on the master branch, look at the code, our code comes back. How cool is that? Now there's a lot more options here which we can have a look. For example, this remote option. We have a Git flow, we have a terminal, we have Explorer, we have a settings. The terminal is basically Git bash. We don't want to go through that. Now we talk about push and pull and fetch. Well, what are these things? Now I'm going to take you to the browser and we will look at the browser here. Right, so here I'm going to go to GitHub. This is my personal GitHub account where I upload all the code. You can go and follow me there as well if you want to. There's a lot of new codes here available. Right, so now I want to create a repository here, and I want to make sure my code will be available on a local and on the server as well. So you can build your own server if you have the money, but you can use the free ones, which is a GitHub. GitHub lets you upload your code obviously publicly for free, but if you want to have that private, you can use a Bitbucket. There's another website, or you can pay GitHub $2 or $7 a month to make your code private. So GitHub lets you upload your code and make sure that it is safe so that no one touches that code. Okay, this is so cool. If you're working on a proper open source project or even a private project, I would highly recommend make sure you upload your code at some sort of server. So if your computer dies or if it's too much fire going on under your computer or it's a bit of heat, it's going to blow the computer and you will lose all your work. Computer is not that important, but your work is very important. So you make sure you upload your code somewhere which is safe, which is a GitHub or a Bitbucket or your own server that you buy with a lot of money. So how do we create a repository here? So we'll come here and create a new repository, which will be a simple task. You just fill out the form. We don't want to do that. We want to use this WebStorm to upload the repository to the GitHub, because I've already attached that here and I will not have to type the password and stuff. So here I will just say right click Git, and let me see if I have an option here. No, I don't have an option here. We'll go to the version VCS tab, and here I will say browse repository and import into current version controller. Here we have an option for share project on a GitHub. I'll click on that, and there you go. It says Git test is a repository name. I'll say yeah, share it. Now it's going to go to my, because I've already attached to GitHub. If you haven't attached to GitHub, you can say you can basically go in the setting, and here right now we have the repository remote path, which is set to github.com Awais Mirza /gittest.git. But if you don't want to use the WebStorm, you can come here and basically add a remote. So if I go add, and here I'll type repository name, remote name, which is the GitHub, and a URL for that. So we'll go and refresh the browser. And there you go. We have a Git test repository right here. Now, if you don't want to use WebStorm, that's fine, but you can still do it by using a Sourcetree. So you go here, you basically, let's just remove this, for example. Let's just remove this or edit this. You can see here, this is the information you want to type. So remote name would be origin, URL path you will get from here. So if you create that repository from GitHub, then you just click here, copy this path and paste it in your URL, and then the username and password for the Git, which I've already have in WebStorm, so I don't have to type in here. But if you didn't have WebStorm, then you can type username and it will ask you for the password as well. So here we have an option for Bitbucket, GitHub, Stash, and unknown, which is your local or your server in your home running on your IP. Let's cancel out, and here we can see now we have branches which are local, and also we have a remote. So on the remote, we don't have a dev branch, right? So I want to just keep all my code to the remote as well. So for that, we use an option called push. So here I'll go to WebStorm and change our code. So right now I am in, let me check, in a master branch, and I'll go to WebStorm here, and I'll just say, right, H3 or H2, we say we are using remote server. Save the file. Let's go to Sourcetree, and here we have an option. I'll click on commit. I'll say just pushing to the server, static all file, just track this file. Okay, commit. All right, so once we commit, we have some kind of a pop-up on a push button. So here it says push. Now, why it's showing me this button? it's telling me that I have committed the changes, but that committed changes are only available on your local copy of your code. So do you want to push that to the server? Well, yes, we want to push that to a server because server needs to be updated because we want to keep our code safe. I'll click on push and I'll click on push again, and it's pushing to the server. Now, how do we check we're pushing to the server? Once it finishes, then I will take you to my GitHub repository, and here it says 5 commits. I'm going to refresh the browser and it should say 6 commits. Wow. I'll click on that, and here I can see I committed initial commit. This is where I start my code, and the last commit I did is just pushing to the server. Now we can see, I'll click on that commit, and I can see this is I added, and I can write some options here, comments or reviews for other people coming and downloading my code. I can do that as well. So as you can see, we can commit to the server now. All right. So what's next in Git? We've seen push, we have not seen pull, which works out the way. If you have any changes to the server, well, let's look at the demo for that as well. So I'll go to this dev branch, and I will just say, okay, I'll go to my web store where my code is, and I'll say H3, just learning how to pull. Save the file. Let's go and go to the Sourcetree, stack it, say just pull commit. I'm gonna go and commit that, and then also I want to push that to the server. So I'll just click on that, push it to the server, push that branch to the server, and there you go. And that branch will be available on the server as well. It's pushing right now. All right, so now here I will go to master branch, and this is where we are. Okay, so we'll go to web browser, and I will just go to my repository, git test, and here I will just go index.html, and I want to click on edit file, and here I want to type h3 or h2. I am making a change in GitHub. And now we want to find a place where we can save this file. Here we have a save. Now we have a commit changes. Yes, we don't save, we commit changes. So here I can say, okay, changes from GitHub. Let's go click on commit changes. And there you go. Now let's go to Sourcetree, and here we want to click on fetch. So once we click on the fetch, which will go to the remote and get us all the changes which were in the remote. Wow, now we can see after fetching all the code, but we have not pulled yet. Fetching is different than pulling. Pulling is just applying that fetch. Fetching is just grab me and tell me what's changed. Here I can see it says master branch needs to get the pull. So here we have a commit name updated index, which we have something written here. I'm making a changes in a GitHub, as you can see here. Well, that's right. I can click on pull, and that changes will be available on my local copy of the code as well. So we have pretty much covered the basics of Git using a terminal, and also we have seen a cool software, Sourcetree, which in fact is free. That is so cool. So yeah, if you have any problems, let me know, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. And make sure to subscribe and like this video and share it, and also check out the JavaScript code what I just created. That's so cool. All right, see you guys in the next video.